Ladies and gentlemen, I have myself some Janky Ice, a bit of 7-Up Shirley Temple before it goes bad, and I'm going to answer the question, do people need to have children? No. For those of you who are uninitiated, I'm a food blogger. I have these things for my blog. And in order to use them up, I've decided to incorporate them into these videos. In addition, for every 1,000 subscribers I get, I do purchase one of these bracelets from 4Ocean. 4Ocean pulls a pound of trash out of the ocean every time I do that. If you would be so kind as to comment, like, and subscribe, you'll be doing your part for a better world. Now, I'm going to take my vitamins as well, since I have something to drink. I only drink things with calories in these videos, so if I'm not in here, it's coffee, tea, or water, and no sweeteners. So, this is a great time to take vitamins. Ugh. The things that are in that glass. Anyway. When you ask, do people need to have children? The question is, to what end? Okay? There are famous people that have no descendants. And, you know, I would generally say that your success as a human being does depend on your legacy, but your legacy does not necessarily mean children. I mean, it's like Genghis Khan has the record for the largest number of descendants in history. But if those descendants don't share your philosophy, are they truly yours? During my lifetime, I strongly breached with my father. During my lifetime, my father was a Catholic, a Protestant, a Methodist, I hear cats. A Catholic, a Protestant, a Methodist, and a Buddhist. He wasn't exactly very strong in his philosophy. He hated me for considering myself Jewish. Okay? I'm Jewish. I am 31% Hebrew, and I adhere to certain principles that are common amongst Jewish philosophy. I'm not necessarily considering myself a religious man, but I am a man of strong Jewish philosophy. Do understand that when Judaism was created, it was created as a form of government, not religion. The government had an official book of history that was our Bible. And in that book, we recorded deaths, births, and marriages. Okay? And we had our own versions of the FDA and the police and all those sorts of things. So the king was connected with the church. That was a thing back in the day. Monarchs were supposedly selected by God. God chose the best leader. That didn't work out so well for Rome. But Rome lasted a long time, so, you know. In the inherent modern government, ironically, you know, over my lifetime, or over the American experiment, our government has adopted more and more Jewish principles. You know, food regulation is a Jewish principle. It's a Jewish thing. That's why we have kosher. Kosher is meant to keep us safe, and whereas the government will never outlaw pork, and I never expect them to because we have penicillin, this is a thing. So, you know, when you take the question, do people need to have children? The further question becomes for what? Do people need to have children in order for our nation to have a strong army? Yes. Do people need to have children in order to continue the human race? Yes. Somebody needs to have children. If nobody's having children, the human race will die. Do you need to have children to be fulfilled as an individual? No. You don't. I had something very salty. My chin tastes like salt. Or my lower lip does, at least. Too much salt in the soup. Anyway, I am familiar with a certain YouTuber. I wouldn't say I know the guy, but I know of him. And he's a homosexual bodybuilder, and he's married to another man. And he was out there crying because his dog died. His father died, his dog died, and he had a bad shoulder injury, which will impact him for the rest of his life. And, yeah, okay, that sucks. And I said, dude, you can get another dog. You cannot replace a dog, by the way. That is not a thing. All right? It doesn't matter how many dogs I own. It doesn't matter how many cats I own. It doesn't matter how many fish I own. I will still miss my old Butch. Butch was my first dog. He was old when I was born. He died in front of me. I will never stop missing him. Okay? That ain't the way the world works. But as for, homosexual couples, well, I would encourage you to adopt. And why would I encourage you to adopt? Because being a homosexual does not mean you cannot provide a loving family for a child. Now, the interesting thing about homosexuals raising children is, typically speaking, the child feels the need to come out to their parent, whether they are straight or gay. Okay? The child has this moment to, I have to go and talk to my parent about what I am as a person. And you tell me, is there something wrong with that? I don't know. I'm not here to judge. My understanding of the situation is that we need more adoptive parents. So long as any group of people who want to adopt, I don't care if Microsoft wants to start adopting children. If Microsoft can adopt children and give them a good and solid life and not be abusive towards them, more power to them. This is something that I would say, because they say corporations are people too. Corporations should adopt children just because there need to be more children. I mean, there was a man who was a priest. Well, he was a pastor. I'm not sure as to the totality of the difference, but he was a pastor, and he turned around and he had 3 adopted children. And he said, "Give me the hard ones. God has put me on this world to help these children." So they gave him the hard ones. He was always busy. Foster familying and adoption, these are things. I mean, to be completely honest with you, if I could, if I were a rich man, I would own these estates. I've said this before. I'd like to own vineyards. And, if I could own these vineyards, I would 100% want the vineyard to be able to adopt children who are, kept. I mean, someone's got to maintain this vineyard, right? All right, so I've got to have a staff there. They've got to be growing the plants. They've got to be making the wine. Okay? Can they provide a year-round environment for this child? I would assume so. So, it's like, hey, I would then go to the state and say, okay, here's the situation, Give me the hard ones. I have a staff. They're here to take care of these children. That's the way it is. That's what I paid them for. And, I want those children to have a great life. We're going to have these things dealt with. I'm going to make sure that they're educated, that they're well cared for, well groomed, well loved. Because every child should have a loving home. And yeah, it's one of those things. If I had that kind of money, if I were a billionaire, you'd have to be for stuff like that. It's one of those things. I actually saw a short documentary. Someone talked about harvesting kumquats. Was it kumquats? No. Persimmons. The American persimmon, which is not a commercially viable crop. And I was like, wonderful. If I could, I would own an American persimmon orchard, and we would make persimmon wine. And yeah, persimmon wine is difficult to harvest, difficult to make. It would probably go at a pretty high price. But, that's the world we live in. Of course, I would be looking for the most viable native crop. Persimmon wine might be just like a rare vintage that might be there just for, that year or that time of year. Another thing I might do is I'd like to get an orchard of the trees of many fruit. And it's, they have these stone fruit trees. And the stone fruit is like a peach or a nectarine. Not sure if a nectarine counts. Anyway, anything that has a hard pit like a cherry. And they get these stone fruit cuttings and they splice them all together, and they have a tree of many fruit that has a longer production time than other things. I'm like, okay, well, you're not making wine of one stone fruit though, so it's not peach wine, it's stone fruit wine. And I'm pretty sure that you would have to have this is whatever came out this month. I don't know if you could distinguish that well between the fruit because they all kind of look similar, and a lot of them are fruiting at the same time. So it's like you might have like the early vintage, which has early of the year versus late of the year, and they all have a different flavor because they're all made of different fruit. Although typically speaking, if a tree is getting the same nutrients, its fruit's going to have that kind of a taste to it. But anyway, enough of me rambling. Do people need to have children? No, they don't. My grandmother said she didn't want great-grandkids. And if she's dead now, so if I ever have my pretty much most of my family is dead. Outlived a lot of them. So pretty much, I got nobody in my life. If I ever have children, they'll see no one from my side. It's just how it is. Anyway, thank you for sharing this moment with me. I'm Richard.
Danger Ducky says, this is your magic moment. A moment for you to do something that is good for the world. You can comment, like, and subscribe, because for every 1,000 subscribers this channel gets, they will buy one of these bracelets I am wearing. Each one of these bracelets I am wearing means that one pound of trash will be removed from the ocean. Cleaning the ocean is an expensive thing to do, and we need your help, so don't be trash. Comment, like, and subscribe, and get trash out of the ocean.